I'll be sharing briefly.
Vilete zichangamke. Umekaa karibu hata kuna mkono imejaa.
So the point is that the general objective will be the topic the way it is. That will be made as the general objective, but you must add two. Then specific objectives. Now, this is what will comprise your or make up your independent variables. Independent variables that will try to enable you to study, to shed light on the topic. So I've taken employee compensation as an independent variable. I've taken training and development as an independent variable. I've taken human resource planning as an independent variable. I've taken work environment as an independent variable. So all these are, are trying to impact on employee satisfaction. So satisfaction, remember, was captured on my topic. And that was what I was trying to investigate. I wanted to investigate the impact of human resource practices on employee satisfaction, right? So anything that will impact, what are these that will impact on the employee satisfaction? What kind of practices? So these are what I've taken into account. I've taken human resource planning as a practice. I've taken employee compensation as a HR practice. I've taken training and development as a HR practice. I've taken work environment also as another area which I feel will impact on the employee satisfaction. So all this will comprise the independent variables, and I would take them to to form my specific objectives. So my first objective is to establish how the employee compensation, let me just bold it so that you get to get it, how to establish how employee compensation will affect the employee satisfaction. This is my the blue one. The green one is the dependent variable. Then the yellow one is the independent variable. And this independent variable is what is forming my specific objective. So how employee compensation will affect the employee satisfaction of the employees at Kenya Commercial Bank. You must indicate to us that the case, how it will affect your objective at the case or the organization where your research is going to be based. My number two is training and development. I want to find out how training and development will affect the employee satisfaction of the Kenya Commercial Bank, employees at the Kenya Commercial Bank, and the branch, of course. Then my number three is the human resource planning. I simply want to establish. So here you'll be playing around with these phrases: to establish, to find out, to establish, to determine. Those are the different, phrases that you'll be using to build your specific objectives. Don't use the same phrase to build a specific objective. For example, using to establish for one, then you use to establish in two, to establish in three, to establish in four. That will be very boring. So there are quite a number. We have to find out, to establish, to know, to determine, and many others that you may think about. So these are what you'll be using to build your specific objective. So as you can see, these form my specific objectives. Here they are: to establish how employee compensation affect the employee satisfaction of the employees at Kenya Commercial Bank, Garissa branch; to find out how training and development affect the employee satisfaction of the Kenya Commercial Bank employees, Garissa branch; and the third one and the fourth one, meaning I have got four variables, independent variables, and one dependent variable, as I've indicated under the objectives. my research questions will be drawn from the specific objectives. My research questions will be drawn from the specific objectives. Roman 1, for example, to what extent does employee compensation? Remember, my specific objective number 1 was about employee compensation. So here you are asking a question. Here you are asking a question. So to what extent does the employee compensation affect employee satisfaction of the Kenya Commercial Bank employees in Garissa branch? My number 2 was training and development. Does training and development affect employee satisfaction? That is the question. So throughout my investigation, I'll be trying to answer that question. I'll be answering that question. My research will be intended to answer the question. In what ways does human resource planning, remember my number 3 was human resource planning. In what ways does human resource planning affect employee satisfaction? I'm asking the question. I want to know. Then how does work environment impact on employee satisfaction? That's another question that I'm asking. So these are now the specific objectives which I've used to ask questions. So 1.4 is the research questions of the study, and it must be from your specific objectives. Must be numbered Roman 1, Roman 2, Roman 3, Roman 4. The same way specific objectives are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, whereby each one must correspond to the former. Number 1 must correspond to number 1. There is no any way we'll have number 1 corresponding to number 4 in the previous case. That is 1.4. Significance of your study. How is your study important? First of all, to the commercial bank, where you are doing the research, where you are conducting the research. How important is this going to be? How important is this going to be to the organization, your case? So 1.5 is the significance of the study. So to the organization where you are conducting the study, it will be 1.51. So in my case, it was Kenya Commercial Bank, Garissa branch. So that one now becomes 1.51. The next category is the financial sector. Remember, my research is based in the financial sector. So how is this study going to be beneficial to the financial sector? So that is 1.52. I'll have to explain that. How is it going to be important to the academic world, to the academia? So that is my 1.53. And to the academia means any student would wish to conduct or rather study on the same area. How is this going to be important to him or to her? That is my number 1.53. Policymakers would at one point or the other, due to the problems that have existed around the issue, they would want to provide solutions to future problems. How would this be important to them? So that is 1.54, policymakers. Then you go to 1.6, the scope of the research study. The scope of the research study is regarding where will you be conducting your study? The population of your study. How many people will you be conducting study on? The sample size, that is. Why have you chosen these people? That would be the scope of the research study, and that is 1.6. Then finally, on chapter 1, the limitations of this research study. What problems did you encounter as you are conducting your study? There are instances, for example, where the respondents are reluctant to give you information. How did you solve this problem? Maybe you never guaranteed them the confidentiality. They never wanted, or they would not want to be exposed to their supervisors. How will you be able to guarantee this, their safety? So you have to tell us about that. Challenges, again, regarding the finances. Maybe you needed to travel from one point to another. There were weather problems or the climatic changes. You need to tell us that under the limitations of the research study. So that is your chapter 1 on your proposal. So your proposal will cover that. Then chapter 2 is the literature. Literature review, you'll be looking at 2 things. The empirical literature, as well as the theoretical literature. Theoretical framework is regarding the theories the theories that have been, that different scholars have come up with regarding the areas under investigation. If you had got 4 independent variables, then it is important that you have 4 theories, whereby each and every theory will be investigating a separate or a different variable. For example, there should be a theory on employee compensation. There should be a theory on training and development. There should be a theory on human resource planning. There should be a theory on work environment impact on employee satisfaction. So theoretical framework of the research study simply will be looking at the different theories that have been put forward by the different theorists. Like in my case, I had 4 independent variables. I must have 4 theories. But first of all, you have to introduce the chapter. Chapter 2 is literature review, as you can see. Then on 2.1, I have got my introduction. This chapter will simply be reviewing theoretical framework, as you can see, the empirical literature review, the conceptual framework of the research study, the critique of the existing literature review, literatures, the research gaps that have ever existed, and so on and so forth, with regards to your topic. Then on 2.1 is your theoretical framework of the research study. It is important that you give an explanation of what theoretical framework is. These are things you can find from the different literatures in internet. You can Google and tell us what theoretical framework is, but it is important that you give references, because at the end of the work, you will have the references. So give us the theoretical framework. Then you can see theoretical framework is 2.2. Then I have my first theory, which is 2.21, social exchange theory. Just take a keen look at how your theories need to be written. 2.21, social exchange theory, in brackets, the brain behind it. That was Emerson. In which year? 1976. It will not be advisable to have a theory without the author as well as the year it was authored. So it is important to have this theory in detail, like social exchange theory, Emerson, 1976. Where will you get this? You will get this from publications, the previous works. This could be someone else's project on the area. But don't forget to have this person, to put this person as your reference. Under references, you must put this person, its topic, the year, and his name. So social exchange theory, Emerson, 1976. You will dig about this theory. You will dig about this theory. And then you get to theory number 2, 2.22, resource-based theory, as you can see, was authored by Wright in 2001. Then I get to my number 3, the same. Then I get to my number 4. I did not have number 4, but I'm supposed to have 4 of them. After that, you get to the empirical literature. Empirical literature now are simply, the different literatures that have been done regarding the variables, regarding training and development. What is training and development? Begin by defining it. Then tell us about any literature work that has been done about it, related to your dependent variable, that is the employee satisfaction. So we have 2.3, which is the empirical literature review. Then I have to talk about it briefly, what empirical literature review is. And then 2.31, your variables now. I've started with my first one, training and development, 2.31. I've talked about it in details and considered different people's work. I've gone to employee compensation, 2.32. I've gone to employee compensation, then my human resource planning, 2.33. Then my last one should be the work environment, 2.34. After that, those are now additional. It's not important. After that, I need to get to the conceptual framework. This is my conceptual framework. It is the first figure, and it is 2.4, conceptual framework of the research study. So this one gives me two sections, the independent variables on my right and the dependent variable on my left. Remember, the independent variables are your specific objectives, which included training and development. We have discussed about them under empirical literature review, employee compensation. We have got human resource planning, work environment. All of this will be affecting or impacting on employees' satisfaction. That is why all the arrows must lead to employees' satisfaction. And you must have the figure named because it is in topic 2. That is why I'm calling it figure 2, but it is topic 2, the first figure. So I call it figure 2.1. What is it? It is conceptual framework. That must be below it. What is the source? The source is the research 2022. In this particular case, it will be 2022. We are doing the research in 2022. That is the conceptual framework of the research study. Having done that, you'll have the critic of the existing literature. Why do you criticize the existing literature? That is what will inform your desire to undertake the work, because the existing literature have failed in one way or the other. So you are coming up with a solution, and the research you are coming up with is the solution. So that is the critique of the existing literature review. Then research gaps, the gaps, and then that will form the last. You can have chapter summary as 2.7. Just summarize what you have had under your chapter topic 2. Topic 3, and this is the last topic in proposal, is chapter 3, which is the research methodology. This comprises the methods that you intend to use to conduct your study, and they will include things such as design of the research, the population where you are going to conduct your study, the sample size, how many people will you be using, the respondents, the sampling techniques you'll be using, the data collection methods you are going to use, the pilot study you will be conducting, how you are going to analyze your data, and how you are going to present. That is in chapter 3. So you have your research design, you have your population of the study. So from the population of the study, you will have, for example, in the organization, what departments will you be visiting? In my case, I visited financial department where I picked 75 people. IT department, I picked 55. In that order up to the last one, which the branch affairs, which had 18. Percentages, you just convert, and that gives me 100. Total population, 300, percentage is 100. Source, KCB, Garissa branch, 2020, the year I'm conducting the research. You must indicate the source. You must indicate the source. So that is the population of the study at 3.3. These sections must be provided systematically, the way they have been provided under the format that I will share with you. After that, you will go to the sample and sampling techniques. You must calculate the sample size. Sample size is given by n, small n that is. Capital N refers to the total population. Now, in your area of investigation, what is your total population? Your total population is n. Divide that by 1 plus n into error. There must be some error. Normally, take 0.05 as the error tolerance. Take 0.05 as the error tolerance, but the formula that you will be using to calculate the population size is n equals to n over 1 plus n into error. And then you square that. If you do that correctly, in my case, I got 172 as the sample size. So this is what I'll be using as the representative of the entire population. Then having done that, you'll present it on a table whereby you'll be required again to calculate the, your sample size distribution. With the formula given, I will share with you this also so that it can help you. Then we have data collection. How do you collect your data? How do you collect your data? You'll be using questionnaires. What kind of questionnaires? The first one is the instrumentation that you'll be using, questionnaires. The second one is the procedure that you'll be using. Then after that, you look at the validity of the instrument, the validity of the instrument that you'll be using. 3.651 would be the validity of the test instrument. Then 3.62 is how reliable is your instrument. 3.7 is data analysis and how you will present your data. And in this case, I had a regression equation whereby Y would be representing my dependent variable, which is the employee satisfaction. And then you move on to the rest of them. Then we have ethical considerations in the research study. What did you consider? You, first of all, must have had permission, or you will ask permission. So you must tell them that I will ask permissions. I will ensure that I maintain confidentiality because those are your ethical considerations at work to ensure that you don't breach the requirements of conducting the research, that is the maintenance of confidentiality. That is chapter 3. After doing chapter 3, you will get to the references. You will get to the references. And your references would be the people whose works you have borrowed. I borrowed Armstrong. I start with the name, the year, then the topic of the book or whatever I read from. You do that for all those whom you have used their work. Because if you don't recognize anyone, then your work will be implicated by plagiarism. After doing that, then that would be the proposal that will be guiding you to conduct your study as well as to apply for the NACOSTI. How do we apply for the NACOSTI? I will share with you how to apply for the NACOSTI, the link that you're supposed to use. But one of the requirements for applying NACOSTI are that you must have your passport photo. Number 2, you must have your proposal, the research proposal. Number 3, you must have the permission letter of, maybe requesting them to allow you to conduct the research, or you must have a recommendation from the institution. We will provide you with a recommendation letter from the institution. Then from there, you will proceed to apply for the research permit. You must present this, you must send me this permit because it is important that we are able to see it so that even as we proceed with the rest of the work now, that is chapter 4 and chapter 5, you shall have acquired your permit and you shall have complied with every other requirement that is expected of you with regards to writing a research proposal. That is what you are supposed to do with regards to doing a research proposal. And I would want us that we take a proposal can take you 1 week. So by the end of 1 week, that is 7 days from today, you should be done with your proposal, let's say Friday next week. Friday next week, your proposal should be ready so that on that very day you apply for your permit. In the course of the time, I will share with you your letters, the permit letters that you will also attach. And for the meantime, you must make sure you have a passport photo. Make sure you have a proposal. The speed with which people do this, some people can take 3 days and they are done with the proposal. Some people can take a longer time of 1 week, but it should not exceed 1 week. So we are giving ourselves a time frame of 1 week so that we do the proposal. And then on Friday next week, we all apply the permit. Permit will take roughly 2 days to be out so that we can, even as we proceed with the rest of the work, that is chapter 4, and chapter 5, we are on safe side. Remember, we are already late, so we must move with speed. You must move with speed. The earlier you finish the proposal, the better. But a maximum of 7 days should be enough for us to undertake this. The rest of the write-ups I'm going to share through the WhatsApp. I'm going to share the research format, again, the NACOSTI link, and the guiding procedures, what you need to follow step by step when you are applying for the permit so that you get your permit. In case you have got any difficulty, kindly please reach out to me so that you get guided accordingly. Unless there is a question, I would really be glad to pick questions before we can conclude. Yes, questions? Do we have questions? Well, seems there are no questions. I want to appreciate your coming and to thank you for sacrificing your time. And I hope to meet you again on Friday, but not through this forum, but now through other channels. You can call me, you can WhatsApp me, you can email me. The email also I'll be able to provide through the WhatsApp group. So thank you so much and do have a nice evening. Thank you.